In this video, we're going to learn about automatic query endpoints, a feature that was released as part of ClickHouse's launch week. With this feature, you can create an API endpoint directly from any saved SQL query in the ClickHouse Cloud Console. So let's come over to my ClickHouse service, and I've loaded the UK housing dataset. So we'll click on that PP complete table that you can see. And this is the data that we've got. So this is the price, the date, the postcode, the street, the locality, and other different information about houses sold in the UK. I'm now going to write a query that computes the minimum price, the maximum price, the average price, and then some various quantiles for a particular postcode, or the first part of the postcode. We'll notice that when we pass in a parameter as part of the filter clause, it then on the right hand side parameterizes that query so that we can pass it in there. So I'm going to put in the postcode near my house, and you can see it comes back with the minimum price of a house sold around here. I'm sure that must be wrong. That must be some bad data. I'm sure there isn't a house sold for £7,000, but you can then see the max, the average, and the quantiles as well. We can also click on that quantiles field to expand it a little bit. So we can kind of see the 99.99 percentile was 2.79 million. If we now come over to the organization's API keys page, we'll click on new API key. So we're going to then give our key a name. So we'll call it Mark. We only need developer permissions, and we'll say it's going to expire in 2 weeks, and then we'll generate the key. It will then tell you your key is generated. You're only going to see it once, so make sure you download it. So let's do that. Let's now go back to the console, and we're going to press the share button. Now, since we haven't actually saved this query yet, it's going to ask us to do that. So we'll give it a name and save the query. And then it's going to come over to this share query page. So what we want is the API endpoint tab. So let's click on that. And then it'll ask us, which API endpoint do you want to use to access this endpoint? So we'll choose the Mark one that we just created, and then it gives us a little curl command down here that we can use to run a query against this endpoint. It also asks us what result format we want. We'll leave it at JSON each row. If I paste that curl command into the terminal, we can then update it. So I've put my key and secret as environment variables. So let's update the curl command to use those, and then we'll put in my postcode, and then finally we'll pipe the result into JQ. And if we run that, you see it comes back. You can see we've got the data columns, has the different columns that we returned. And then under rows, we've got the values that we saw before. We can also use this inside an application. So I tend to write stuff in Python. So let's open a Python REPL. We'll import the requests and pandas libraries. Let's initialize our key, our secret, put that together into an auth tuple. We'll create a payload for the query. Put some headers as well, and then we'll define our URL. And then we're going to make a post request to that URL, passing in the headers, the auth, and the payload. And then we'll pull out the JSON from the response. And if we have a look at that, you can see we've got the same information that we saw when we ran curl. And to finish off, we can then pull out the column names and initialize a data frame where we have the rows as the values, and then the columns names passed in as the columns. And then finally, let's render that to the screen. And so you can see we've got that information again, the minimum price, the maximum price, the average price, and the quantiles as well. If we come back to the browser, let me show you one more thing. So we can actually choose to monitor our API endpoints. If we click on the link there, you can see these are the requests that have been made to our endpoint over the last 24 hours. Now, hopefully your one will be more popular than mine. These are only showing the requests pretty much done by me while building this demo. So that's it for automatic query endpoints. Give it a try and let us know how you get on, and I'll see you in the next video.